16th. I'm Brian Patrick. Congressional Democrats and one independent call for the reform of immigrant family detention centers. In separate letters to the Department of Homeland Security, members of the House and Senate say we need to stop detaining entire families. Nearly 1,500 religious leaders have also signed a letter to President Obama. They're calling for the administration to find ways to give children freedom and dignity while awaiting hearings. Joining us now is Kevin Appleby, Director of the Office of Migration Policy and Public Affairs with the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Also Dan Stein, President of the Federation for American Immigration, also known as FAIR. Kevin, the bishops want these detention centers closed. Where will these people go?
Well, first of all, let's talk about who these people are. They're young mothers with children who are very vulnerable. They're fleeing horrific violence in their home countries. Many of them have valid asylum claims. And above all, they're no threat to the community. They're no national security threat. The bishops have been to these detention centers, have talked with these women and these young children, and they have found out that they really need protection. They're the ones running from terror, and we detain them.
Are they being protected?
Further traumatize them.
Centers?
I'm sorry?
Are they being protected in these centers?
Well, the care that they're given is fine, but studies have shown that psychologically it impairs children over time. And there's been court cases that have said that children should not be detained, that there should be alternatives to detention which should be provided these vulnerable populations.
So, Dan, what do you think might be a viable alternative to those seeking asylum?
Well, these are tough issues, but in the end, the role of the government in this case has to be to ensure that people show up for their hearings. And when people were coming across the border and essentially taking advantage of the Obama administration's lax enforcement policies, in a sense, the administration created the incentives for people to try to gimmick and game the system. In order to try to both stop that and ensure people show up for their hearings, they come up with these detention centers, which, importantly, they do protect those people who say they're fleeing some form of persecution from harm because they're in those centers. Those centers are, by the way, very elaborate. They're not maximum security prisons. People are quite comfortable there. And the bottom line here is people aren't showing up for their hearings. And if people don't show up for their hearings, the system collapses and breaks down because it means more people will try to come in if they know there's no real effective departure control. People are not sent back. And we have something akin to chaos and anarchy in our immigration control system. So the administration is doing in-country processing. So actually they're screening people for potential asylum claims, refugee claims in the home country. Part of that is designed to prevent a recurrence of people flooding across the land border and as an embarrassment to the administration. But in the end, the issue is, are we both protecting people who need protection but also ensuring integrity of the system? And we would say, well, we got a lot of work to do, but basically yes.
Kevin, is there a way to balance humane treatment with this idea of security and making sure that the people do get to their hearings?
Yes. There are programs called Alternatives to Detention, where the Catholic Church in the past has accepted families like this, placed them in the community, give them case management services, help them find attorneys. And we found that in these programs, 95 to 100% show up for their hearings and they're not detained. So we urge the government to look at these alternatives that are effective and they're also humane, and it also ensures that no one's a threat, that national security is maintained as well. But these are more effective, especially for this vulnerable population. They're indeed refugees. They're fleeing terror.
Dan, do you think that would work?
Well, I don't think we can adjudicate their claims in advance by saying they're all refugees. The whole point of the system is to figure out who has a specific case that would enable them to jump the line in front of millions of people to come in and who is just trying to take advantage of loopholes in the system. And that's the great challenge, because the longer someone's allowed to stay here illegally, if you will, waiting for their hearing, the greater the likelihood is they'll never go home. And that's one of the fundamental problems with immigration policy. We have in life tough decisions, moral and difficult choices, but in the end, some folks have to go back home. And everybody who's in those detention centers does have the option of signing what they call voluntary departure. They can go back home if they feel it's safe to do so. So it's not like they're in prison. The point is they're being held in a civil process until they can have their hearings. And the only reason they're being detained is because the administration doesn't feel they're going to show up.
Well, I think a lot of people agree that reform is necessary. What we don't agree on a lot of times is how that should be done. We thank both of you for being with us. Dan Stein and Kevin Appleby, thank you both for joining us.